Gavin Newsom is the guy being floated most often in my mind if Biden is not the nominee to run for president on the Democratic ticket in 2024. And there's two ways in which that would happen. The first is very unlikely, as you'll see in the reporting I'm about to talk about. But even before this reporting, I knew this wasn't going to happen. I think most people did, which is Newsom would challenge Biden even if Biden announced his run for president in 2024. That's not going to happen. Newsom wouldn't make an enemy with Biden like that. The other is Biden says he's not running, and then we have an open primary, Democrats running against each other, and Newsom ends up the nominee. Not saying that necessarily will happen, but that's one of the paths, the most likely if Newsom is going to run, that he would be able to become the nominee. Well, the first option has been confirmed to not be happening based on Newsom's own stance, which is I will not challenge Biden if Biden decides to run again for the White House. Again, I think Biden shouldn't, even though he actually does have a lot of accomplishments to run on. Unfortunately, the effect of his age on his communication ability and the optical side of being president, I think is a little bit too severe at this point. But here's this article being broken from Politico. Newsom told the White House he won't challenge Biden. Governor Gavin Newsom has won 3 elections in 5 years in America's largest state, is apoplectic about his party's messaging defects, and follows Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the right-wing media ecosystem with a zeal that would put some opposition researchers to shame. But Newsom wants the word to go forth. He's not going to challenge President Biden for the Democratic nomination in 2024. So what it's laying out there, and then we'll continue, is part of the reason I think Newsom has started to get floated more often as a possible 2024 presidential candidate for the Democratic Party is because he so actively and uniquely calls out and aggressively fights back against the right wing in ways that too many Democrats don't. And so it's refreshing, and that kind of makes him more of a option in a time where we need people who are ready to be that aggressive as the candidate. Quote, I've told everyone in the White House, from the chief of staff to the first lady, he recounted to me as we sat on the top floor of California's new ceremonial governor's mansion on election night, his message to Ron Klain and Joe Biden over the summer when he visited Washington amid growing speculation and considerable West Wing irritation that he was plotting a primary challenge, was to count him as a firm supporter of Biden's reelection. I'm all in, count me in, he said to them. He told them. Newsom relayed the same to Biden himself on election night. Yeah, this is being broken as a big news story, of course. To me, it's not. I don't know why the West Wing was irritated. There's no chance that there's no chance that any Democrat seriously would expect to win. I know some will get mad at me for saying this, but guys, if an incumbent president decides to run for re-election, it's very hard to defeat them in a primary. It just is. And especially with many of the policies that Biden has passed are very popular among the Democratic Party. And so the candidates running against him are probably really supportive of a lot of those things, but would just kind of be saying, I think you're too old, which again, I'm supportive of the fact that he should not run. So I'm not supportive of him running necessarily. But I think if he ends up doing it, it is going to be obvious that he's the nominee. And someone like Newsom wouldn't be making a smart political choice to try to challenge him. But if Biden decides not to, I think Newsom is one of the better options. He's far, far, far from perfect. Lots of issues, like everybody. From now on, any politician I talk about, just assume that I'm aware of the flaws they have. But within that context, I think he would be a pretty good candidate as far as his likelihood of beating a Republican and all of those things. So interesting dynamic playing out there. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get access to an extra full show every Saturday that only members can see, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there is a link in the description.